Boa tarde. Boa tarde. Boa tarde. Eu estou atrás de histórias sobre piranha. Será que tem alguma...
Sim, senhor, eu sou vítima de...
O senhor mesmo?
Mordida, eu sou eu mesmo.
Que tal.
Vem aqui na ponta do nariz.
So, I'm just walking along here and I just asked this gentleman, I said, I'm after stories about piranhas. Anybody got anything to tell me? He says, well, I had the end of my nose taken off by one. His wife dropped something in the water. He just, dived down, water about waist deep, and a piranha had the end off his nose. He says he opened his eyes and saw lots of blood and many piranhas. And if he hadn't been able to leap straight out of the water, he fears he might have died. This is a piranha story. An old man was left in his floating house by his family just for a couple of hours. They came back, he'd gone. There were just his clothes there. So, they thought he must have gone to take a bath or something, but he wasn't in sight anywhere. They searched. Eventually they found just his skeleton. I mean, literally, he'd gone in the water because he was old. He wasn't able to get back out, and the piranhas just had it. E faz tempo?
Não, tá com uns 2 meses.
2 meses? 2 months ago. I've managed to unearth a newspaper report from the 1970s that describes the exact bus crash that I remember, where some of the passengers were eaten by piranhas. It reports that on the 14th of November 1976, the bus was travelling from Manaus to the town of Itacoatiara, a journey of about 5 hours. After driving through the night, it crashed into a tributary of the Amazon, killing 39 passengers. The newspaper also mentions the name of a survivor, Dirceu Araújo. I've managed to track him down to find out what he can remember from that fateful day, as this might allow me to pass judgment on the guilt or otherwise of the piranha. Okay, so... Dirceu tells me he was sitting at the very rear of the bus, and like the rest of the passengers, he had been sleeping for most of the journey. On board that day were several families, a couple of students named Alex and Ivan, as well as many other men and women returning to their homes in Itacoatiara. Not long before the accident, the bus went through a pothole, waking Dirceu up. This, he tells me, could well have saved his life. Aqui é o lugar mesmo que aconteceu o acidente.
Nós viemos lá e caímos aqui.
This is the very spot where the accident happened. The bus came down here, went in the river down there. Dirceu doesn't know if the brakes failed or if the bus skidded, but the driver had done the same route several times that day. The papers at the time reported the suggestion that he fell asleep, and at the ferry crossing carried straight on into the river. One minute everything's normal, literally the next moment it's in the water. There were people crying, wailing, much despair.
Aí foi que eu fui no corredor, tá todo mundo lá querendo sair naquela porta.
There were people at the front trying to open the door by pulling it, and he's basically saying that, that door only opens if you push. Then the water started to come in, at which point he went back to where he'd been seated.
Aí eu vi o pé dele, peguei e entrei.
There was a boy there who'd been trying to break the window, and he actually saw this boy's foot, disappearing out of the bus, and he saw the foot, followed it, and managed to get himself out through the same hole.
Que eu passei a cintura e essa perna aqui, uma moça pegou nesse daqui.
He's just about clear of the bus, somebody grabbed hold of his leg. Can you imagine? Somebody is trying to grab hold of his leg while he is trying to escape and get to the surface. Actually had to kick this person's hand off to get free from the bus and actually, escape from the wreck. 39 people remained trapped on the bus and didn't survive. In the panic of his escape, Dirceu doesn't remember seeing any piranhas. So no one knows how long it was after the bus submerged that the piranhas attacked. even to this day, just going over the bridge, which they've got now over the river, he says every time he crosses, he just remembers that day. It was several hours before rescuers could winch the bus out of the water. By that time, it was far too late for any remaining passengers.
Foi 3 meninas grandonas assim, e uma que é recém-nascida. Só, quase tudo foi adulto.
There were 3 children and 1 baby, actually all from the same family. They were brought up dead.
Todo estragado por causa de piranha.
There was 1 body there, had literally been stripped of all the flesh, only the boots were left. The impact piranhas have on a human body is distinct and may be too shocking for some viewers to see. These horrific images from recent cases arriving at the Manaus city morgue show just what a piranha is capable of doing and the type of wounds it leaves. Exposed flesh and soft tissue are removed first, which is exactly what Dora de Barbosa witnessed when she arrived on the scene as the bodies were being extracted from the bus. She told me that some of the victims were brought out still hugging each other, and her story made me truly realise what it meant to lose someone in this crash. Dora was just 17 years old at the time of the tragedy, and what happened, she was living in Itacoatiara, and she just actually started her nurse training at the time, and so she actually went to the river at the site of the accident.
Totalmente o rosto, não tinha nada no rosto, só mesmo, nem as cartilagens mesmo tinha, então só os ossos.
That's pretty tragic. Dora says, she did know some of the people on the bus, which just makes it sort of extra horrific. Really, there was the husband of a teacher of hers, and she says that he was just, his face was completely eaten away down to, not down to the bone, but down to cartilage.
Tinha também o Ivan. O Ivan era uma pessoa que eu gostava na época, né? Eu estava apaixonada por ele.
And also a lad called Ivan, who she liked very much. This was her childhood sweetheart, and he was one of the victims as well. And she said, because of this, she found it very difficult early on to talk about this whole business. But as a result of this, she said she actually, left the area and didn't return for a while because of the memories of the place.
Mas como estava engatado, né? Ele estava com uma roupa, vamos dizer, com a sua foto.
He was wearing sort of quite strong clothing, and he reckons that part of the clothing actually somehow got snagged on the bus, and possibly that's why he didn't escape.
Como ele foi identificado, porque ele estava com a documentação nos bolsos, a identidade estava no bolso dele.
He only actually identified him because he had his identity document inside the pocket of his shirt.
Então, que eu meti o braço pensando que ia resistir nada. Estava leve, estava fácil.
The body of his brother was wrapped by then, and he picked the body up and he said, well, it was just so light, you could just tell, even though he couldn't see, could just tell that it was just bones there.
Se acha mais a piranha. Nós temos peixe aqui. Tinha os outros que são predadores também, mas o principal é a piranha, né?
So he's saying that this would have been piranha that actually did this, basically just stripped the flesh from the body. I've come to visit an Amazon village where dealing with these fearsome neighbours is a daily occurrence. This remote place is actually called the Piranha Reserve. But what I soon learn is that it is in the dry season, when the water is low and the piranhas are concentrated, that the villagers are most at risk. It is a particular time of year. It's principally the months of September and October here. You can't even get in the water to have a wash.
Aí tem que ter o vaso para ir tratando o peixe e jogando.
Main food item here is fish, so there you are. You have to clean the fish in order to prepare it for the meal, and just the smell of that will bring a concentration of piranhas there. So you've got to be careful. Keep your fingers nowhere near the water. But on one occasion, this family dropped their guard, with horrific consequences.
Tava com 2 anos.
It was a grandson of Julius. Quem estava tratando?
Era a minha esposa.
Ah, eu sei.
É.
Saying, you know, you can't look after kids all the time. His wife was cleaning some fish off the back of the house, and the child just ran, as children do, from one side of the house to the other, and just fell in the water the other side. And he said, literally, you know, they heard a noise, they got there, it was already too late.
A gente só via era com medo da piranha.
The child fell in the water and just didn't come up. All they said that they saw was just a turbulence in the water of the piranhas devouring the child, just literally moments after the child had fallen off the side of the boat.
Os ossos, né, da criança.
With nets, they were trying to sort of, you know, retrieve the child, even while this was going on. And eventually, he said, you know, all they got in was bones. E demorou quanto tempo para chegar nesse?
Esse foi rápido.
When I asked how long it took, he said, no, this happened very rapidly because, you know, there are just you know, so many piranhas here. This is what I'd been searching for, a first-hand account of piranhas attacking, killing and eating a human. In this case, a 3-year-old boy who the grandfather preferred not to name. Yet the reality of hearing a story like this takes away all feelings of success I might have had. It's one thing to hear the myth of piranhas, but I mean, you know, it's quite something else to talk to somebody who's actually seen the truth of that with their own eyes.